The all-new generation of the Mini Countryman is here. It will come all electric and also here still as the combustion engine version. And we will drive it here as the most powerful Mini Countryman John Cooper Works JCW with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the new generation in the design. So much more upright. It is actually higher than before and strong stance. It has more this off-roadish look. At the same time, the JCW version adds sportier accentuations like the logo here, then the red accentuations in the vertical scheme here. Overall, yeah, it almost looks like a checkered flag here in the front design. In the side profile, it has massively grown in length, so it's now at 4 meters 43 or 174 inches. That is actually 13 centimeters or 5 inches longer than the previous generation, and as I said, it's also higher here with the contrasting roof and the rather darker gray color, but we'll also have a white-black contrast there for you. We're soon going to take a look at that. Wheels from 17 to 21 inch. These here are 20-inch wheels, so already quite large. How does it translate to the comfort? We'll check it out very soon. You get a base suspension or they call it adaptive suspension, like a sports suspension, but it has frequency adaptive damping. That means it's passive adaptive. I think both with BMW and with Mini it's a little bit misleading to call it adaptive because you always expect that it changes according to the driving mode, but it doesn't. So it is passive adaptive, but not that you can choose it. We'll test it later on when we drive the vehicle. Here also in the side profile we have this typical Mini element, really prominent in this case with the John Cooper Works version. All 4 is their all-wheel drive system, brand name. It is a front-wheel driven platform, so it's front plus rear on demand. This one here, of course, the all-wheel drive version to get all of that power to the ground, but you'll also get front-wheel drive versions for this one. Same goes also for the electric version, front or all-wheel drive. In the rear, you can see different signatures. Here, the Countryman JCW more has, like this LED activation, but it depends really on the version what signature you have here in the rear. In the lower part, you have these massive exhaust pipes. 4, and they are also for real, so no job for the Autogefühl fake exhaust police at all here today. And now let's check out that other vehicle here, because it's a very cool setup we have here for you today. You can of course get different colors. This one then here white with the black contrast. I think that is probably the most contrast-ish you can get this vehicle. Also when you take a look at the front right here, why not? I mean, I think that's pretty cool in this styling actually. What do you think? If you wonder, by the way, the BMW X2 here especially is the M35i trim. This is actually, together with the X1, the brother or sister. They are built on the same platform. Actually, in this very trim here, the M35i has the very same engine, just like the Mini John Cooper Works Countryman. Mini Countryman John Cooper Works. Yeah. What do you prefer? Which one comes first? So interesting is that although it's originally a British brand, this one here, the new Countryman, is built in Leipzig, Germany. So this is a German Mini. Turning indicators in the rear appear here in between the rest of the signature. The turning indicators in the front, defo my favorite here. Look at that, pretty cool, because they replaced the full daytime running light in the front. This is the key fob. It's actually pretty cool. Nice design idea. Oh, and here it also says Legend Grey is the name of this color. And then flush door handles. Anyway, let's check out the door closing sound. Oh, it's actually quite solid, like that. Interior of the doors or inside. Yeah, the fabric covering here. It's actually quite cool. So it brings a lot of atmosphere to it. Optional Harman Kardon sound system. And then from this perspective, one thing you can see the steering wheel, which also has a cool perforation here at the side, for example. Let's take a seat and see about the comfort. So it's actually, it's very cozy indeed, and also for your head. So sometimes the integrated head restraints are kind of annoying. They look cool, but then annoying when you lean back. But here it's actually very cozy and soft, works well, and here also plenty of headroom left. This is actually also one with the panoramic roof. You have first of all this shade here. There we go, goes all the way across the vehicle. And it's also one that you can still actually open, and this has become rare in the industry actually. There we go. And also wide opening, so you can almost have this convertible experience. Yes, the small Mini, by the way, is also once again coming as the convertible. That's also then later in the model portfolio of the new generations. So this is also one of my hobbies, measuring the inch of the screen. So this is like, the inside is like 9.5, and the whole thing, if you count including the bezels, is 10 inch. And you know, because it's round, it's the first round OLED in a car actually. It's pretty cool, very clear display, and it's just, you know, it's just fun that it's the round thing. And 10 inches is actually really large in this case, because if you think about, you have like a horizontal screen, it can be very slim but still be like, you know, 10 inch in diameter. So this is actually, yeah, the highlight of the vehicle, so to speak. And you also have fabric here at the dashboard, different styling elements. You have a base version for the new Countryman, which is more in subtle colors, not too much screaming out. And then you also have a trim where you have like a, you know, like a dissolve between different colors, between blue and brown. And this one here, the John Cooper Works, has this, you know, like this, hey, this like a wall of fire, you know, something like that. But I think it's fine. I love that they use more fabric surfaces instead of just plain black plastic. And I think it's not Krusty's clown show here, you know, but still something more spiced up. Same goes for the steering wheel, red contour stitches on the inside, the striping in the lower part, and also with the seats. Look at that. I mean, this is high-grade leatherette, slick surface. You can also wipe it clean. And in the top part, they use the fabric again, which shines through. And this is then this, you know, like a 12 o'clock marking we see sometimes on the steering wheel. And yeah, this is actually only possible to do it like that now with new technology, also, you know, in the stitching workshop and so on. So pretty impressive. And even more impressive is it's very high quality and it's all animal free. Even that steering wheel, and no one could tell a difference. And these new materials have less impact in the production and also even less abrasion, and they're more durable, so that goes full circle. And they also use a high recycling share in the production. So overall, I think a very unique setup here. I think it's actually well done. What do you think? Because this is definitely splitting opinions. And even more so maybe, wait a minute, where are the instruments? As for the head-up display, when I turn on the ignition, you can see here it has this separate layer that pops out, and there is actually a reason for that. This is the reason, not cost savings in this case. They wanted to have a head-up display unit which also projects into the windscreen, but at this moment it's not possible to do it at this angle here. So for example, the BMW X1, X2, it's more like this in the windscreen, but here to achieve this rather upright standing mini design look, yeah, was not possible actually to integrate a real head-up display. Shifting pedals here behind the steering wheel and real buttons on the steering wheel in the front, volume. And this is here, by the way, interesting. I can also control the infotainment system from here. These are still physical controls, like the gear mode selector, like a gear selector here, reverse, drive. This is the ignition actually, on and off. This is the experience mode selector, so the drive modes actually. Here then the volume jog. And in the lower part then this is the inductive charging pad with a cooling hole so that the phone doesn't overheat. Underneath more space. These are the cup holders. They are not adaptive, and this is to be criticized because bottles are flying all over the place. This is coffee cup only thing. For everything else is not ideal. This is a cool idea. So inspired by furniture design and also in this case here by luggage design. So I think it's a mix of furniture and luggage design. So you know, putting this one up, it's like a small cubby hole. However, this armrest here, soft touch and also good for the elbow, but you can slide it only forward and backward. You cannot open it. And two USB-C chargers here. Look at that here. This is small ambient lighting for the middle console. Woo! And they heard I switched to the go-kart mode, and then it also switches to red. So Leah really loves the round screen, so thumbs up for the screen from her. yeah, her favorite from the interior. And she also discovered some Easter eggs, actually. And Easter egg number 1 is when you are in the GPS, in the infotainment system, look at that. When you hold this arrow, then it becomes a small vehicle. Is it a Mini though?
Maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely fun idea, you know. And the second Easter egg concerns a streaming service or the music. So here.
Ooh, you can be the DJ. That's cool. Wiki, wiki, wiki.
Yeah, you can even do some scratching. Also important here, the climate control. I suggested to Mini that when you press here that you could directly swipe. At the moment that's not possible, so let's see if they can fix it with a software update. Here you have to press in there first and then you can swipe or click minus or plus, or here then for the steering wheel heating or seat heating and so on. And you have the car internal GPS, and like here you see also it's actually quite responsive. And you also have this home menu, or here this main menu app view, but you can also add these here. So when you, what was Leah again? Holding, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, holding, and then you can, here, holding here, add to shortcuts. And then you have this shortcut view, which you can always swipe from below. However, here the Apple CarPlay integration, you can see it here with Apple Maps. Then you can see it's not really suitable that much for the round screen, but here in the home view, that's actually quite okay because the colors are going through. Then there are these experience modes. This is the core mode. You can switch it to the green mode, for example. You have to wait in a little bit. Then it also gives this sound chime. This is more than the eco driving mode. Vivid would be a more expressive one. Also the ambient lighting switches to accordingly. If that chime is really needed, yeah, that's maybe up to discussion. This is here like the retro driving mode. So you then have these retro analog instruments in the middle part. That's actually quite fancy, right? And remember, you have the instruments here basically, and only if you have the head-up display, which is standard for the John Cooper Works or otherwise optional, you also have a speed in your line of sight. Yeah, trail is maybe also interesting here for some off-roading action. Yeah, it's also more like the retro style, I feel. And of course, for the John Cooper Works, most important, the go-kart mode. Yeah, Mario Kart style. Rear doors, look at that. Also this fabric covering which shines red from the background with this perforation. So also nice fabric covering here that you don't have everything in full black plastic. Also nice door handle. And then you can move this rear bench here 13 centimeters or 5 inches forward or backward for more space in length in the trunk or for more legroom. Also here the control in the inclination. You can put it more backward here or more forward. This one here would be then most backward. Middle part then with some adaptive cup holders right there. And this middle console has 2 USB-C chargers, and it is like a volume jog wheel, but this is actually for the vents. Why not? So it's a nice idea. Then it's actually quite cozy in the seating position, also upright. Legroom does exactly fit for 4 tall adults, and headroom here is also totally fine with 189/602. This one here then with the panoramic roof. And can I also sit in the middle part with about the 5 tall adult thing? It's not too hard in the middle part, so yeah, with the legs it gets a little bit closed and headroom no problem. So I would say it's like 4 adult proof for sure, 5 for shorter trips. Let's check out the trunk or the boot. Electric hatch here, 450 liters up to 1,450 liters. The width here is a good meter or 40 inches, and the normal length is about 80 centimeters or 32 inches. So the X2, for example, we've seen across there has a little bit more length there in the trunk. And what's interesting actually here underneath, so look at that, you can fold this one up. Cables also for the electric one, but here when you have the ICE versions, then you have this whole space right here. So this is a very large space underneath, and look how cool this one is being kept upright without you have to hold it yourself. That's actually nice. And then you can see here 1-1-1 split. You can individualize that. And what's also cool here for towing, you have to press this one and then this one underneath. Fully electric, not only, that's also always a weird sound, right? However, you see this little pin here, well, this indicates it's a towing hook, but not for towing in the John Cooper Works, just to put something on it, so as a bicycle rack. Also goes back again, so that's a very practical or handy thing to have. And one detail I want to show you here, when I actually release this top cover here, look at that. There's the Mini logo here, kind of stamped on there. And it's interesting, so when the hatch is opened, it's usually like this, as you've seen before. And then when you look to the back mirror in the front seat, you see the Mini logo upside down here from there. So, yeah, nice detail. You know, I love these details. And let's take a look at that engine right here. This is the top spec. You can also see this dome strut. And we have a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine with around 300 horsepower, 5.4 seconds in the acceleration figure. You can also get an all-wheel drive petrol engine here, 2-liter 4-cylinder with a little bit lower horsepower. It's 218 then in the horsepower spec. That is not the true JCW version then. And also even smaller 1.5-liter 3-cylinder petrol engine as an entry petrol version. Also 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel. No plug-in hybrid in this generation. However, now all electric and front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, 65 kilowatt-hour net battery. Of course, the range there will be somewhat limited. Yeah, but it really depends on your purpose, on your needs, which version you would go for. And what's also very interesting, you know that Mini is originally a British brand, but I think I have to close open. Yeah, that's always the thing, you know. With BMW and Mini, I think it's pretty cool that you don't have to unlock these. You have to pull it twice, you know, to really unlock the hood, and then you don't have to search like, where do I open that one here? Just pull it up. Yeah, but then to close it, you just have to be not gentle at some point. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge. Mini Countryman John Cooper Works in new generation go-kart mode. Then we also have this chime, but I can actually also tell you here, you can also deactivate these experience jingles. So, and then if I would have the things like this, press the brake, throttle, I cannot preload. The preloading for some kind of launch control here, when you are in driving dynamics, you can set it to Sport Plus, so it's like an EC Sport. I can also set the drivetrain to Sport Plus, that's also possible. And then I can do some preloading. Usually it also should set the launch control, let's see if it works or not. Preload, let's go. Plop, that's 90 kilometers an hour. Woo, that went really quick. The Lear meter was also going off. Really nice. And it did not tell me that it would have a launch control. I could do the preload. If it goes into that launch control setting, I mean, I did preheat the engine properly. Maybe that was the reason why it didn't pop off. Yeah, I'll have to check later on. But we could preload and had a good acceleration there. Really nice. This sound theme on the inside is mainly coming from the inside indeed. In the US versions there is no OPF, no auto particle filter. So for the petrol engines, no particle filter. That's why you have a better sound in the US or Northern American models actually. Wow. Suspension is set on a really stiff note. You do not change it with the driving modes, but it also adapts to the road surface, and wow, hooking up well here. Great accelerating out of the corners, although it's a front-wheel driven platform, but a lot of power is sent to the rear wheels. And this really small steering wheel, it's also smaller than in the X1 or the X2 with BMW. This small steering wheel really helps you to control this car even better. You have such a balanced, neutral feeling here. It's really cool. So here, for example, when we're getting close to the town, we can also switch back to the one of the normal modes. Here you heard nothing because I deactivated that. Speed bump. We'll soon get to one of my favorite driving dynamic routes here in the world actually. So one of my favorite routes. I have been having that in the reviews a lot of times actually. And yeah, it's always amazing in the very same way, so to speak. But here on the city, I have compact dimensions. Here, the steering is also really progressive, so you don't have to steer that much. most of the time you can also just keep both hands easily at the steering wheel. Also in the normal driving mode, it has enough power that you don't have any turbo lag or something like that. Now here, these rather cobblestone area thing, it is actually here in this respect, for when the ground is uneven, okay. But here, when we have some small bumps, where they're like really fast reactions from the suspension, there it gets indeed uncomfortable. So you have to like this really rough suspension. It is kind of rough, I feel. Yes, you have some kind of go-kart feeling, although it's an SUV, that works. So this sporty mini spirit here is definitely there. And here, I think, in the camera you see like from the cobblestones, yes, but to me, it's not about the cobblestones, the very surface. It's more about these small bumps that are in between that make it kind of uncomfortable. 20-inch wheels here also, could even go bigger. But if you want more comfort with the Countryman, then either don't go for the John Cooper Works version, or at least stick with the smallest wheels possible. You could also here for the JCW go with 19-inch wheels, for example, to get a little bit more dampening from the tire. Leah doesn't look too happy from this rough ride here. Yeah, but maybe this sporty ride here will make you happier again. And here we go. Let's go back to the go-kart mode once again. Pressing twice, and also to the S-shifting mode. Yeah, it's interesting. When I had it set to DSC Sport, and I have to confirm it one more time. This also looks pretty cool here, right? You have the big speed there. Watching the speed, by the way, here or in the head-up display, it is a little bit easier to watch it in the head-up display, I have to say, because it's in your line of sight, but it's placed relatively low, so it is a compromise not to have a real head-up display, but as I said earlier, it was not possible otherwise. Oh, there's an electric Countryman coming here, now towards us. And the overdrive version, also one of the most powerful ones. And here, wow, nice sound experience. Now next corner, really good feeling here for the steering wheel, that's lovely. I can also use the shifting pedals here myself. Shifting down or up myself. That was already a little bit too late for shifting. Ooh, wow, happier now? So is it good to sustain for the passenger as well? It's good?
It's okay, yeah.
Because that's always a good sign, when you're driving really quick and sporty. If the passenger feels all right, that's always a good sign for the vehicle. And I mean, here now the road is quite good, and there the stiff suspension is not such a problem, actually. But now I see that actually here, for one of my most favorite routes here, so this part here, they reduced to 30 kilometers an hour and also installed a speed hump. I mean, it is kind of narrow here, so probably, maybe, especially in that area here, there were maybe a few accidents or something, and then they went for that, obviously. Yeah, my favorite driving part in the world is reduced to 30 kilometers an hour now. Well, if there were a lot of accidents, you can also understand that, so I don't want to complain. Now, 70 again. That's easily done. Wow, I have to use the brakes a lot and plop, plop, plop from that exhaust. Really nice. Woo! Yeah, that's the sound. That's the stuff. So the handling is really superb, and that sporty, stiff suspension does a good job. You don't feel like you would be driving an SUV, indeed. And yeah, this new generation here feels even sportier and even more refined, and especially love the steering. You see here, when I'm in these corners, I hardly have to turn the steering. At the same time, I have a very good natural feeling for it. And I even feel that they have found a better steering application than BMW did, actually. So let's go back. Maybe what about the timeless mode here, going retro style? What about that? And Motorway? We can do some 66 to 100. Plop, that's it. Even a little bit overachieved. Yeah, I have to be even more cautious with the speed limits today here. Now setting the cruise control, and now we can also test the adaptive lane keeping, or the active lane keeping assist. Here we go, let's see how smooth it is. Now the motorway is bending. Of course, you're supposed to keep your hands on the steering wheel all the time. Look at that, no hectic steering movements, super smooth, very elaborate assistance systems. It's level 2. And in that kind of elaborated way, it was never been before in a Mini model overall, actually. And have you heard the turning indicator, actually? That is, to me, one of the coolest things. Oh, there is a Countryman as well, but that's the previous generation. There we go, you see also the design difference. You like that one better or this one? Difficult. Oh, I think the Mini guys, do they want to hear that the new one is way better, or would they also like to hear that you find the old one good as well? So yeah, probably both.
Yeah.
Probably both, right? Yeah. So I guess that Leah would take this or the other, the old generation. So yeah, but I think it's maybe also a good thing, especially for owners of the previous generation, that they're not shocked by the new generation styling. Here, the turning indicators, really cool. You just want to hammer them in and do another lane change. I think they just sound so great, you know, so like bang in there. It's really, really cool. So hitting the turning indicators, so much fun with this one, and I guess it motivates you to use them also, probably. Yeah, that was, you know, there's this joke with BMW drivers not using the turning indicators. Yeah, but it is actually a BMW stock column, so I guess this will motivate a lot of people to do that. Here also very good brake feeling, and also here, with, you know, we were at around 1 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. It was also very silent, so good noise insulation here in that new generation. This has also been improved. Overall, the whole vehicle feels more grown up, more evolved. It actually makes a better quality impression, and I was kind of surprised that after the static launch, there were a lot of comments that people felt like the build quality would have diminished, and I cannot confirm that. So, I mean, there might be always some things that is something that are different actually, but I rather felt here that the quality of the whole vehicle has been improved, and I think we can also confirm that here with driving it. Of course, you should compare it to the internal competitor, the BMW X1, or maybe enjoy more Mini content here.